So I'm getting a lot of messages about all of this alleged fraud that's happening in Minnesota because it's my home state. The first message I got was from a friend of mine asking me if I'd seen that video that wackadoodle Nick Shirley did going to that quick learning center or whatever it's called. And I'm not saying there's not fraud going on in Minnesota. I'm just saying that some of it seems to be from Nick Shirley. So he goes to this learning center. It's a daycare that has taken millions of dollars. He's knocking, nobody's come to the door. But it would seem that he's actually at the back door. So here he is at the front door. It's a restaurant called Abdi's Kitchen. That learning center shut down due to multiple violations, none of which I don't believe had to do with fraud. But he doesn't tell his followers that it's actually a restaurant. So I got a bunch of messages about that. And then I got this comment on Instagram, which is a bad faith question. This guy is MAGA. And there has been a huge MAGA push to think about Somali people as fraudsters. Usually what they're referencing is the Feeding Our Future case. And yes, a lot of Somali people were implicated in that case. But what they conveniently leave out is this woman, Amy Bach. In 2016, she founded the nonprofit Feeding Our Future. And in 2020 is when the fraud began. This was at the beginning of the pandemic. This was during DJT's first term. He completely mishandled the pandemic to the point that he loosened oversight on these kinds of programs, allowing claims to get through unverified. And Feeding Our Future claimed that they were giving thousands of meals to children, and they never did. They pocketed that money to the tune of $240 million. In 2022, during Biden's term, Biden's FBI raided the organization, and the organization shut down. There were 78 suspects, Amy Bach, and all of her employees. By March of 2025, 40 of those people, including Amy Bach, were either found guilty or pled guilty. Merrick Garland called it the largest pandemic relief fraud scheme that there ever was. And Biden's administration shut it down. So most of the 78 people who were indicted and the 40 people who were found or pled guilty were Somali, but they were also Bach's employees. She was described as an authoritarian who silenced dissent within her ranks, discouraged scrutiny from state regulators, and cut off people who refused to comply with fudging the numbers. She is the person who created all of this. And now this has become a huge right-wing talking point because of racism and xenophobia. But no one ever mentions her, the person who created it. Now, there's a ton more to the story, but I know that this guy asked me to cover this, to prove that Somali people are bad, because that's what this admin wants you to think. The reality is every community has bad actors. That is not an indication of a community as a whole. Unless maybe we're talking about some white women like Amy Bach, who actually was only caught because of Somali whistleblowers. They were the ones who dissented, the ones that Bach iced out. Anyway, too long didn't read. There are bad actors everywhere, but in this case, it was a white woman.